It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Monday, August 11th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is asking, where does Travis Konecny stack up in the league-wide forward conversation?
I know where.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade, and I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, I am feeling in some kind of way here about Travis Konecny and maybe not getting the kudos that he deserves sometimes around the NHL. I think, it's been partially because the Flyers have frankly not been good and aren't in that elite team conversation. And so sometimes you forget about the guys on those teams. And I am by no means suggesting that he's an MVP caliber player either, but he's a very, very good hockey player. And recently, NHL Network did their, they're doing their offseason top whatever list. And so they did top 20 wingers. And Travis Konecny was not on that list. And I think that there is an argument to be made for him to be on it in particular. But is your take in terms of the big picture and where he fits in the league-wide conversation?
Yeah, I mean, big picture, he's definitely in the top 22. I can tell you that. But I looked at the list and I did come up with a replacement spot for him. And it's not just, again, if you're doing it strictly on points, then you're doing it wrong. And the reason you're doing it wrong is because different levels of different teams with different line mates, with what, the guy means to the team, what the percentage of scoring is for the team, and all of that is different. So, as an example, I was telling you offline that Philip Forsberg needs to be on this list every year because Nashville can never score and he always produces. So his production value is worth a lot more to Nashville than his same points would be worth to, let's say, Dallas, because Dallas has a lot of high point guys. So Nashville doesn't, and the Flyers don't. And so I think Travis Konecny should have been there instead of Jason Robertson, who everybody admitted had a bad year, but it was still better than Travis Konecny according to them. And that was a really good year, except for the last month and a half for Travis Konecny. So that's where I would put him instead of Jason Robertson, then put him at number 20.
Right. So Jason Robertson was number 16 on that list. Alex Ovechkin was 17. Philip Forsberg was 18. Matt Boldy is 19. And Adrian Kempe was 20. And so just in terms of where we're suggesting he might fit in that conversation, I do think, again, as we were talking about, a couple of those guys that are lower on the list had more well-rounded games than Travis Konecny and absolutely deserve to be there. But there is an argument to be made that he could crack this list, and certainly he's in the next 2 to 3 guys after this list.
No question.
For sure.
I think with Robertson, they went with they said, oh, look at the points and reputation, but I don't think they look beyond that. And I think when you look beyond that, Konecny's worth to the Flyers is just as high, if not higher, than Robertson that year, especially that year.
Yeah, and you look at his current stats for this past year, 76 points, which was tied for 31st overall, 29th for forwards in the league. He was interestingly third on the Flyers in goals with 24. Mitchkov and Forster had more goals than him, 88th in the league in goals. So maybe that's partially where it's coming from. That
tailed off his goal production. Okay,
his goal production tailed off, and
Robertson
the assists.
has 35 goals. He's definitely more of a goal scorer, but this isn't the top goal scoring wingers, is it? That's not the list.
No, like points are points, right? We like to
Yep.
say that assists are very important kinds of points. So he was 21st in total assists, but
Yeah.
more interesting to me, 7th in primary assists. Like that is an important stat, and I think, especially relative to where the Flyers are in the league pantheon right now, that is a huge stat for Travis Konecny.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge stat for Konechny. When I look at like Dallas's, they had 82, 80, 71, 67 with Rupe Hintz. Those are the top four scorers. That's a lot more points than the Flyers' top four scorers.
Right, which obviously Forster and Mitchkov were the other guys in that conversation, and I
Yeah.
think, you know,
The level of
there
talent that you're playing with matters.
it does, and you look at when you're a winger and you don't have a top flight center that can support you and engage in a way that allows you to score more, I think there's something to be said for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Duchene had 82 points. They don't have a center that they have two
Mm-mm.
centers that could get him 82 points, honestly.
Right. Right. Now, you do have to dig into some of the other
Mhm,
numbers here and be fair about it, right?
mhm.
So, I think really when you look at the two main aspects of his game in particular that maybe give him a little bit of a ding here is his shot percentage, right?
Okay.
So, if you look at his shooting percentage was 12.8%, which is okay. It's not horrible,
It's not
but
horrible, but it's not great.
it's not great. He missed the net a lot, right? That's really what's happening here.
Yeah,
So in comparing him to Matvey Michkov, who had a much better shooting percentage and shot attempts hitting the net. So in the season overall, Matvey Michkov had 359 shot attempts. 200 of them were on goal. Travis Konecny, 404 shot attempts. So, 65 more shot attempts. Only 188 of those were on goal. So 12 less with
yeah.
65 more. Like that's your differential right there, right?
Yeah, that's a differential. Also, where they take shots from. Mitchkov really does not take any shots that far away. Like, does he take a 15,
Correct.
20-foot shot? Not really. Konechny will try those occasionally, which guys on the team have to kind of offset how other players play. So he's kind of like a leader that way too. I'm not making excuses. He should hit the net more. But I'm just saying he does shoot from different areas. Michkov is going to shoot more from high percentage
Sure.
areas too.
Yeah, absolutely. Except for those weird behind the net things, but
That's a
that's a
little
whole
more
other
extreme. Yeah,
conversation.
that's
But
fair.
yeah, like TK did miss the net quite a bit. Of
Yeah.
those 404 shot attempts, 108 missed the net in all situations. Another 108 were blocked. So, that's shot selection there, right?
And he's going up against top lines. Like, that's part
Correct.
of that too. So he's facing the best defenseman in the league. Mitchkov wasn't always on the top line. Not matter of
Right.
fact, mostly wasn't. So he's not facing the same level of defenseman either that Konechny's facing. That does matter too.
Right. Then the other big ding on his game, in my opinion, is his giveaways, right?
Yeah.
And we saw that from the eye test
Oh
in
yeah.
his game. He was giving away the puck a lot. He had 96 and he had a -10 goal differential.
Yeah.
And so I think it was very obvious that he was making mistakes and giving away the puck and then trying to chase after it and fix
Right.
it
Right.
afterwards. That was just a hallmark of Travis Konecny's season. And
Yeah.
I think the shooting percentage and the missing the net plus the defensive play issues or just giving away the puck even when he's in the offensive zone, I think that's probably what kept him off the list ultimately.
I think you're looking way too deep into this. I don't think they're looking at all these different factors. I think they looked at 2 or 3 factors and made the list. They're not looking at like
Well, I
12
mean, it is the
factors,
NHL
trust me.
Network,
That's
but
what I'm saying.
and their lists. Their
I
lists
don't
are designed to create controversy.
Right, and I'm just
Like,
saying they're not looking at all those factors. They're not. For all these
right.
players, no way. No.
Yeah, absolutely. NHL Network's lists are designed to create conversation and
Yes.
make fan bases
Yeah.
mad and then create more content. Like
Yeah,
I
no
understand
question.
that. So there, you do have to kind of put that asterisk on these lists that they put out. But I do think there is some reasoning, and to me, those were the two main
Yeah,
factors in
if there
his
was a
game that
reason
weren't
you
up
would
to
keep him
snuff.
off it, that might be it. Sure.
Right. And then there was also, the Four Nations factor. We mentioned it a little bit, that his game kind of trailed off a little bit afterwards, because the lead up to that, and then what it took out of him to not be able to get that rest that other guys
Yeah.
got, definitely played a part in how he played post Four Nations.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely played a part. And you saw he wasn't the same, at least for, well, I mean, it's unfair to say for the entire time that he's back from the Four Nations, but definitely for the first couple weeks, he wasn't the same. Then I think he picked it up a little. Then I think he just ran out of gas.
Yeah. So I think that it's really going to be interesting to see what this season looks like for him,
Yeah.
being the Olympic year. And with,
Yeah.
we talked about him being on the kind of short list for the orientation camp.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about where he fits on the team this upcoming season, and relative to the rebuild over the next couple of years, and where he'll fit into the lineup. We are going to do that coming up next.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy, just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored job posts put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. When you have a new project that requires just the right hire to pull it off, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need.
On our Wednesday show, we're going to talk about where some of the other top Flyers fit into the league-wide conversations. Is there room to improve? And where do we see some of the new guys coming in to this kind of discussion as well? Plus, we're going to answer your mailbag questions, so make sure you get those in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com, send us a message on any of our socials, or comment on our YouTube channel. And I want to talk about Travis Konecny and where he fits into the Flyers now and moving forward, mostly because we are now in year one of an 8-year deal
Mm-hmm.
that he just signed, where his salary has gone up to $8.75 million, which is significant. Now, did he earn that contract? I do think so.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely. But it is a long-term contract.
Yep.
And as we know in this league, like these 8-year deals, which are going away after this year,
They
like there's
are.
no more 8-year deals that are going to get
Yep.
signed anymore. So there's a reason for that. And
Yep.
we know that at least, I would say, year 5 is maybe when this
You
contract is
start
going to start
thinking about.
to be a burden, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but that's also could be when the Flyers are at their peak in terms of, making a run at it in as part of this rebuild. They'll be in their second or third year of being ostensibly in the top zone of being good, right?
Yeah. I mean, the optimist will tell you, oh, don't worry about it, Rachel. The cap will be so high, this will be nothing on it. And they might be right. Or it might go the other way. Like
And they
that's
might be paying Matvei Michkov $14 million, and who cares about 8.75
right.
at that point,
And that may be the case. Like, we'll
and Porter
see.
Martone, but
Right.
we'll see.
Right. And that may be the case. But right now, yeah, those are all legit concerns. And, he's a smaller player. So that's, there is that.
Right. So, when we talked about the potential lines for the Flyers this upcoming season, obviously we had to take into consideration not having Tyson Forster to start the season, and where he might play. And obviously we know his ideal spot is on the right side, but because of Forster not being there, TK might have to play on the left side here. And again, the Flyers have a lot more depth
Mm-hmm.
on the right side anyway, right?
Yeah. Yep. And he could do that. That's fine. I'm not worried about that.
Right. So I think, we had discussed that him being on a line with either Tippett and Couturier or Couturier and Brink as a possibility. That would be where he'd start the season. And depending on how the minutes came out in the wash, that would either be the top line or the second line.
Yeah, most likely it's the top line.
Right. Right. But again, we just don't know with
No.
Zegras. Is Zegras going to be a center, and how long are they going to keep him at center? So there's a lot of moving
That's the unknown.
pieces and parts here. And again, with a new coach and the Zegras factor, it's kind of hard to say in a lot of ways. But I think that really he is a top line and occasional second line winger on this Flyers team this year. And with the Olympic year, as we just talked about, I think it's going to be really interesting to see, how his wear and tear goes. And if the addition of Zegras kind of takes some of the pressure off Travis Konecny in terms of the scoring, and if they're on the same line by any stretch, like how does that affect Travis Konecny and his ability to be the top scorer on this team?
I don't think any of it affects it. I think if anything, he should be able to, get to a different level, not too much higher, but I think there may be a little bit more he can go, because if he played like he played the beginning of the year straight through, he would have more points. So I think there is that as a hope. Will that happen? I don't know. He could fall into the same trap as last year with the Olympics, still have a good year, but not be that guy down the stretch. And that may happen again. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think that there's so many factors at play this year, but I do know that obviously Matvei Michkov is going to take a run at being the top scorer on the team overall, and as he absolutely should. I don't know that there's anybody else that's going to be in that conversation. I think Forster might have been if he had been healthy on day one.
But now the way things are going to shake out, it's not going to happen. Not this year.
Right. And I do think Zegras is going to chase them, but he's just not there on those two guys' levels. So,
I mean, he could be. I mean, he has that same skill level. He does. It's going to be about usage and confidence and other things, but he could be. He could get that. I'm not going to count him out of it because he has that in him. But, if other parts of his game suffer, then it might rob some offense. So we'll see.
Right. And I think the other question that we don't know the answer to yet is, what is this power play system going to look like? And where does Travis Konecny fit on that?
He's
right?
still a key guy on the power play. He is.
Sure. But like, what's he going to be? Like, what's his position? And is he going to be a disher or is he going to be a shooter? I think that's.
He'll still get points if it scores.
Yeah.
He's going to get points.
Yeah.
So he'll get his power play points. But I get what you're saying, and that part we really haven't imagined yet either, honestly.
Yeah, as far as like where he should be from a point total perspective, I think with the addition of Zegras on the team, like there should be more scoring in the top 6 overall for the Flyers this year. So I would expect his point total to go up, but very marginally.
For Konecny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he
like 80 points.
Yeah, 80 points I think is probably the mark. I agree with you on that.
And I think it should have a higher percentage of those points be goals this year, because I would like to see his shooting get better. But again, to be determined.
Yeah, we'll see.
We know he can be a very good playmaker. It's just, he should be scoring more goals. So I would certainly like to see that proportion. Now, moving forward as part of the rebuild, and looking at kind of who's behind him from a winger perspective, I mentioned Porter Martone, who's obviously, on that right side. Like, I'm going to be curious to see if when the Flyers, again, ostensibly hit their peak, is Travis Konecny going to still be in the top 6 at that point?
He might not be.
Yeah.
Like realistically, he may not be. But if he's not in your top 6, that's a good thing.
I think so too, because I think that obviously means there's a lot more higher potential here on the Flyers. And I think that, there's room for him to be an excellent third line winger for this team. And I think he'll still be able to contribute that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. It's going to be similar to what you see Claude Giroux going through now with Ottawa.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, Claude Giroux, obviously,
but age and skill level and everything, I think it's going to work the same way.
Right. I do think, though, differently about Konecny just because of the wear and tear. I think Giroux's been able to manage the wear and tear a
That's
little bit
fair.
better.
Konecny is definitely more of an aggressive player than Giroux. There's no question about that.
Yeah, that is something we've talked about, though, and that John Tortorella talked about a lot with Konecny being able to kind of temper his game
Right.
a little bit, that he didn't get, overly aggressive to his detriment
Right.
over the last couple of years. Like, he's matured a lot in his
Yeah.
game, and I do think that's true to a large degree.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I mean, he used to do some dumb stuff out there, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term. He does a lot less of it now.
Yeah, so that's why I think, this year is certainly gonna be interesting, from an observational perspective on Travis Konecny season, again, partially because of the Olympic year situation
Mhm.
and whether or not he makes Team Canada, or if he does make Team Canada, is he the extra and doesn't get to play, kind of like he did at Four Nations. But I do think
I still
that.
think he's going to probably be in the same boat.
Yeah, I agree, but I think more interesting is what this looks like next year, and because I think that's when Porter Martone might join the Flyers, and there's
Mhm.
gonna be a little bit of a restructuring of what the top 6 looks like here, and are any of the other Flyers prospects at the center position, like Jet Luchenko, gonna move into that top 6 and make the chemistry different so that what makes sense from a winger perspective, like where is Travis Konecny? And that's
Yeah.
maybe even next year is when he becomes a more of a solid second line winger. Even next year, it could be the year after
It
that
might
that
be
he
the year after,
drops.
but it's possible.
Yeah, that's just what I think is going to be interesting with how this rebuild works and the guys that the Flyers have coming down the pike here.
Yeah, as far as Konecny goes, I really think that this year should be better. Based on what he said at the end of the season, I think he learned from last year. But
Yeah.
we'll see. It's easier said than done sometimes.
All right. Well, like I said, we're going to talk about some of the other guys and where they fit in the league wide conversation and in the Flyers rebuild on the Wednesday show. But it is still Monday, and we've got our new off-season poll question coming for you, as well as our Nemesis of the week coming up next. Most people can't name all their financial accounts, even what they're worth, whether it's your 401k, your properties, or other investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and you finally feel in control of your money without even touching a spreadsheet. Even though I love spreadsheets, the apps are good too. And I linked all my accounts to Monarch. I can immediately spot a few subscriptions I wasn't even using, and I canceled them, saved me enough money to make it worth it every month. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, Russ. So, not shockingly, our weekly poll question is related to our topic of conversation, as we usually do on the show. And so, we're asking, where do you think Travis Konecny fits into the league wide top forward conversation? And the 3 options are pretty obvious: he's undervalued, he's overrated, or he's evaluated just right.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
and so we are going to get into the answer to this question. Actually, not on the Friday show. We're going to talk about it next Monday because we have a special guest coming on the show on Friday that we're going to use the entirety of that show for. So we'll tease that for you on Wednesday. Looking at our nemesis of the week. Oh, the poll question will be linked in the show notes and on our YouTube channel. Make sure you let us know why you said what you did in the comments over on YouTube. So, for our nemesis of the week, last week I talked about my nemesis being myself in getting in my own way of getting back on the ice skating. I used to play hockey. I've missed it a lot and I've gotten my skates sharpened, but I haven't actually been on the ice skating. And so I was trying to be accountable. And I will say I have not gotten back on the ice yet, but it's because the ice time is very limited, especially in New York, about when there's public skating. And that's, I needed a
Right.
public skating session. So I have planned a time for this week. I have it on my
Okay.
calendar that aligned with my schedule that had the hour of public skating available. So I feel like I did the best I could given the
Yeah.
circumstances and
Those
scheduling.
that was out of your control.
You're right. So I do have literally on my calendar. So hopefully I can report back next week and say, yes, I did in fact go skating and here's how it went. Russ, you talked about Halloween decor being up too early. We talked about it a little bit on the
We did.
mailbag segment. That people do start school a little bit earlier, and I equate Halloween promotions and decorations in the stores at the same time as back to school. And you either love it or you don't, and that's kind of what it is. Now, my nemesis this week goes back to the Travis Konecny conversation because I do think in some ways, now you talked about Philip Forsberg on that
Yep.
list, that he's kind of doing the Lord's work on a very bad team. And I feel like that on the Flyers, some of the guys on the Flyers just don't get the respect they deserve in that kind of vein, where just I think Flyers are ignored, that who are performing very well on a very mediocre team, to be honest, over the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think that what we saw from Travis Sanheim at Four Nations was a prime example of that. People are like, "Oh, Travis Sanheim? What?" And I feel like just the undervaluing when Flyers are actually good, even when the Flyers overall are not that good, is kind of my nemesis this week. And this NHL Network list kind of made that come to light for me.
Okay. Mine's going to be a real easy one. We're in August, and people are trying to create upcoming draft controversy in the sense that they're like, well, is Gavin McKenna really the number one? Here's the thing. I mean, he had 129 points. He had 38 points in 16 playoff games. He's been the best guy in World Junior competition at a younger age. He's done all these things, right? Now he's going to college, so he's going to play in college. All I would say is this. If is there a team out there that might take a defenseman over Gavin McKenna? Yes, every year that possibility exists. But you're not going to be able to convince me that Gavin McKenna is not the number one guy in this draft as far as from a ranking perspective. Listen, teams will always choose what their teams are going to choose. That doesn't mean that somebody's not as good. And so, yes, could he be slightly challenged for the number one spot? Sure. Do I think 90% of the teams or higher would take Gavin McKenna and still will? Yes. I don't think that's going to change. And so, again, we saw this happening with James Hagens last year. And now I think people have behind the scenes have figured, oh, look, we could kind of like start this up and get some ink out of it. And I just think it's a red herring right now. So that's my beef at the moment.
I mean, I think that's a pretty fair beef to have. Like, first off, it's too early to be having those conversations
Yes.
overall before we've seen him play at all this upcoming season. Like, how guys perform in their draft year is absolutely crucial. And I think your point about teams picking for need sometimes over skill is definitely valid. I don't necessarily see that happening with a guy like McKenna. Again, the asterisk being how does he perform this year and is he injured, like all of those things will come into play. But I do think that it's too soon. It's just too soon to be doing this. And I know it is August and people are trying to come up with stuff to talk
That's what
about,
it is.
but
We're in
like,
this content world now, and it's different, but The draft is the draft. People went from not caring to now trying to create these other things, and it's like, no, I'm not buying it. Sorry.
Well, and what gets my goat about it is that people were tripping over themselves to skip over the 2025 draft class because nobody cares. It's a weak
Right.
draft class. We're all targeting McKenna. It's
Right.
all about McKenna in 2026, right?
Right.
But now all of a sudden you're going to question that? Come on.
Right.
Come on. That's the main reason why it's
No, I get it.
annoying to me.
I think that's valid.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that is our nemesis of the week this week. That'll do it for today's show. Of course, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions for our Wednesday show or Flyers thoughts, let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no offseason. It brings you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with the local coverage you love from Locked On. I'm on the Friday show. You can find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.